it's Courtney with ClickItUpANotch.com, and I am excited to be reviewing Adobe Photoshop Lightroom 5 that Staples sent me to review. If you have followed my blog for a while, you know I love Lightroom. I love it. I've had Lightroom 3 for 3 years. I never upgraded to 4. I don't remember why, and then time passed, but Lightroom 5 is definitely worth the upgrade if you're considering it. If you do not have a photo editing software, Lightroom is an amazing one to start with. I recommend it to everybody. It's really user-friendly. It can do so much that you need to do as a photographer, and it's really affordable as far as editing software goes. So I want to cover a couple things today. Some of the new options that they have in Lightroom 5. There's a couple of shortcuts that are pretty cool. One of my favorite features is the new upright feature, which has a way of fixing the horizon and any lines in your picture with just a couple of clicks. It's amazing. I've spent like so much time trying to straighten like picture, you know, like in a window, the lines of the windows, they start to bow and they get slanted, and I mean I fixed this one picture in like 3 clicks. It was amazing. Another thing I want to talk about is the new spot removal. Before, they always had the circle that you'd have to work with, but now it has an option where you can kind of paint what shape you want. So it gives you a lot more flexibility to remove things that are distraction in your picture. Another thing is the Radial Filter, which is a cool option if you like to add vignetting to your picture. It also lets you play with like lighting of certain, the way that you pull a viewer in to look at your picture. And the other thing that I think is really cool that I'm going to touch on is the Smart Preview, which in the past with Lightroom, you can only edit pictures that are on that computer that it can find. So for someone like me, I keep all my pictures on my external hard drive. So if I were to be working on my laptop and I go out of town or in another room or whatever, and it's not hooked up to my external hard drive anymore, I wasn't able to edit. But now with Smart Previews, you can set it up that you can actually edit those pictures even when they're not hooked up to your computer, which is pretty amazing and nice if you're going to travel and you want to edit your pictures or, you know, whatever. So anyway, like I said, I'm going to review Lightroom 5, and there's all sorts of really cool features of it, and I hope you like it. Let's go ahead and get started. Hey guys, okay, so let's go ahead and dive in. One of the things I want to show you are a couple of the shortcuts that they have offering now in Lightroom 5. And one of them is if you're in library mode and you press the letter F, it will take you to a full screen viewing of your image, which is pretty cool. So that's a quick little shortcut. Okay, when you're in the develop module, what you want to do is, one of the things I haven't showed you, which I think I showed you in a later video that I actually made first, so ignore me if it shows up, is when I upgraded to Lightroom 5, I did not upgrade all of my images since I wasn't sure exactly what it would do. So I'm just gradually going through at a time. I still obviously have to call through these because there's far too many of her at the pool. But anyway, if you click on the little lightning bolt and you say upgrade, it'll upgrade it. And as you can see that the basic panel has changed. It now has highlights and shadows and whites, which is new. And it's taken out the fill light. So when we're in here, if you want to have a shortcut for cropping, you'll push R. And as you can see, I've already cropped my image. But one of the cool things is, so that's a shortcut. Obviously, it's great to learn all these shortcuts because they'll save you a ton of time, and maybe I'll do a whole video on shortcuts. But another thing that's really cool that I love is the crop, okay, I need to be in it. Okay, so when we're in the crop guide overlay, you can go down here to choose overlays to cycle through. And you can choose which ones you want, which is really cool because I don't use all of the overlays they have. And a new one that they have is the aspect ratios, which I'll show you, but it's really great if you have clients who are interested in printing an 8x10, or if you are interested in printing an 8x10, it will show you what it's going to look like when you're cropping. So those are the ones that I have. So once you're in the image, if you push the O, it'll cycle through the different overlays. So here's the golden triangle and the golden ratio and the golden spiral, and this is the one I was telling you about, so the aspect one. So if you are wanting to print an 8x10, you're going to look at the 4:7 ratio because it's a math lesson, you know, but you remember ratios from school. 4 times 2 is 8, 5 times 2 is 10, so that's where the 8x10 is. The 2x3 up top is like a 4x6 that we're used to, and then it shows you a 5x7. So as you can see, an 8x10 is a lot smaller, which is why sometimes it doesn't lead to the crop that you may want for an image. So it's great to be able to see that as a photographer, that you can see that prior to, you know, convincing if your client asks, how will this one look as an 8x10? You can tell them like, well, I don't know, you know, I mean, this one works fine, but if you've got 8 people in the picture and someone's going to get cropped off because all this extra space right here, that's something to keep in mind. So if you also, when you cycle through with the O, with the golden ratio and the golden triangle, you might want them to change their aspect of it. Hold down the shift key and press the O. That's the same. That was the same in Lightroom 3, but I just thought I'd show that. Another thing that Lightroom 5 does is it allows, it views PNGs now, which it did not used to do, which is pretty cool. And it also will take video, and so you can make slideshows. There's a slideshow panel, so you can do still images or video in there, which is pretty cool. Okay, so those are some shortcuts for you. Okay, let's talk about the upright feature, which I think is amazing. Like I said, this has saved me so much time. This is a picture I took of my daughter one day. As you can tell, I never shoot straight, apparently. And I have all these lines from the window. I shot it with my 20 millimeters, so you can kind of see that the windows are bowing a little. They're not straight because of the 20 millimeters. So I spent a lot of time, and this is what I came up with. As you can see, it's fine, but there's still some bowing in the lines, and this took me, gosh, I don't know, 30 minutes just trying to adjust it myself. So if you scroll down to lens corrections and you click the first 2 options, and I always click the 3rd option as well, because if you constrain to crop and if it crops it in too much, it will adjust it for your picture. I'll show you an example. So then you click down here. You can click the level option, which will level out the picture, which looks fine. Or you could do the vertical option, which is going to focus on the vertical lines in the picture. You can do the full option, which I like better. It kind of turns it a little bit in front of us. And then there's the auto, which you can choose. So really, they're all very subtle. Personally, I liked the full option for this one. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to crop it in because I don't want our carpet showing and the curtain rod. So you just crop it just like you normally do. And set your picture up where you want it. That looks good to me. So as you can see, the lines look awesome. They're straight, they're not bowing. Everything looks great. And if you want to see what it looked like before, you can click the off button. And then I'd go back to the full. So if you noticed, it took away my crop. So if you do a crop, and then you go down here to do the upright option, it'll take away the crop that you did. So you'd have to do it again. Or just remember, if you know you're going to use this option, come down and use it first before you crop, like we did originally, and that will save you from having to recrop your image. So it's pretty cool what it can do. I mean, the fact that it straightened those lines out so much with just a couple of clicks is pretty amazing. Since, like I said, it took me a long time to get those when I was manually doing it, which you still can do. The manual option is still here, but it just makes it that much easier, and it takes care of everything for you. So I know that's going to save me hours of work, which is awesome. Thank you, Lightroom 5. Okay, let's talk about the spot removal option, which they're calling the Advanced Healing Brush. So it's in the same spot as it was before, up here, the circle. So you click on that. It looks just like it did before, and you can make it bigger or smaller. What you can do now, instead of I have to circle this whole life vest right here, I can just hold down my mouse and paint over it, okay? And then it's going to find an area for me that it thinks is roughly about the same, which it is. Great job. So then that is done. So see how easy that was to paint over it? We'll do another spot. So here's a little seaweed. Just paint over that. It's going to find me a spot right there. Looks great. Okay, the other cool thing too is you can still do the circles if you want. You can just click on it and then it removes it. You don't have to paint. It still has that option if you want to keep the circles. I like the painting option. For instance, if I didn't want my daughter in the picture for whatever reason, I could paint her out. And it would find me a spot that it thinks is pretty good, and that works. The only thing is you need to remember to paint out her reflection too. Otherwise, people might notice that. So you can see right here that, sorry, my mouse is being crazy, it didn't line up right. So if that's the case, you can just move it around a little bit right there so you can get the short lines to line up. Okay, obviously I'm not going to erase my daughter, but sometimes you have pictures where there's a person in the background that you don't want in there. To delete, you just click on the gray button and push delete and it's gone. So here's another little piece of seaweed that I don't want. Click on that. Lightroom finds me a spot. Looks good. Alright, so now if we want to see what it looks like before, you can click on this little button up here. There it is before with the distractions and after using the advanced healing brush. So it's pretty amazing what you could do. I mean, you could take out this whole thing right here. Another cool option with this one is, say you do have a straight line, like something like this. I wouldn't delete it, but if I wanted to, you could click on it, push shift, go all the way down here, and Lightroom will automatically draw a straight line for you to delete it. And obviously I don't, it's gonna have a hard time finding a sky, but say we wanted the horizons to match up. So anyway, that's just an option. Again, I wouldn't do it. That's a pretty poor job. But I want to show you that it is possible. You can do straight lines. You can paint, you know, whole buildings out if you want. There's just so many options now. For example, if we don't want this guy in here anymore, just paint him out. So what I'm doing is I'm holding down my mouse as I'm doing this. Obviously, again, this is going to be a pretty crazy cloning job, but I just wanted to show you that it's possible. And I'd rather have sky than sand, so I'm just pulling it up here. And as you can see, Lightroom, oh, I pushed heal. Instead of clone, it'll do exactly what I want it to do. Heal will use the area around it to help make it mesh. So as you can see, you have a couple different options with the advanced healing brush. It's pretty amazing. It makes cloning and getting junk out of your picture that you don't want super easy. So that's a really cool feature. Okay, we're going to talk about the Radial Filter. And one thing I don't think I've touched on is when you upgrade, you have the option of upgrading all your images to the new Lightroom 5. I decided to do an a couple images at a time just to test it out. So if you did do that, you can see that it's in the process of 2010. So you click on that little lightning bolt, say I do want to update this picture, and you can see that it will change the basic panel right here. I now have highlights, shadows, whites, blacks. You don't have fill light anymore. So here, right here, the circle is the Radial Filter. And what's kind of cool about the Radial Filter is it can affect some of your image that will change the exposure or clarity or whatever you want over here and not change some of it, which is kind of cool. So this is a picture of my daughter who just saw a fly and it scared her. So I'm clicking on her and I'm stretching out the circle that I want to not affect. So the thing about the Radial Filter that you need to remember is what you do in your panel over here affects what is outside of this circle. So I want to darken it. So I'm going to bring down the exposure. And as you can see, she is not affected at all. What is affected is the light around here, which is kind of a cool feature if you want to bring your viewer even that much more into your subject. And you know, you can mess with the shadows, which will make them even darker. You can double click on these things, it'll zero it back out. I don't want to mess with the saturation. So Anyway, this is kind of a cool way to add some vignetting that's not over the top or to darken an area of your picture. You can also do it the other way around if you need to overexpose some of the, you know, if you want to lighten it up but you don't want to affect your subject. Just keep in mind, don't go crazy with that because you don't want to, I mean, look, for example, say I want to lighten everything up. Well, all of this is really light, but then my daughter is still has shadows on her and it looks kind of weird that everything else is a lot brighter. So I'm going to darken it back up a little, not too much. And so that's an option for you. You can also, if you want to only adjust what is inside the circle, you can do invert mask, and you can see that she was darkened. So that's an option if you want to do it that way. But to see what it used to look like, so not a huge difference, but subtle, brings your eye in. It's a fun little feature. So that is the Radial Filter. Well, that just gives you a small taste of what Lightroom 5 can do. Over the course of the next couple of months, of course, I'll go into more detail of how to use these different features and how I use them in some how-to videos. But for now, go ahead and go buy Lightroom 5 so you're ready. Use it to edit your pictures. It's really amazing, and you can get it at Staples. So be sure to check that out. And just because...
That was easy.
And again, this is Courtney with ClickItUpANotch.com, and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.